Hi, I'm Casey Bell, and you're watching Writer to Writer Interviews. Welcome to another episode of Writer to Writer Interviews. I'm your host, Casey Bell, and today's guests are the adventurous Haley Kilgour and Katia R.V. Let's get this show started.
So really excited to be here today with you, Katia. So I guess my first question is, what got you into writing? You know, it's not something your average every day of the mill person kind of says, like, yeah, I wrote a book. Like, most people look at me like I'm nuts when I tell them this. So how did you get into writing?
Well, it's just kind of something I just always did all my life. I write about my days, and that transgressed into something far more.
Nice. I like it. I like it. So what was kind of your process for coming up for your characters and your plot and your world? You know, I've got a couple of friends who are authors, and even talking to them, they always look at me like, you're such a weird person the way you come up with stuff. So I always love asking people, how did just you get that light bulb moment, and, how did you kind of roll with the ball?
Well, it was just life. Really, it was life and dreams and visions and encounters and all these epic and amazing adventures. So I would just put it into this book and my art and just tell the story. That's really how it came. And, of course, I have a little method to get into my writing, more deeper to compose the scenes. I gotta have my Ivan Torrent playing. He's my favorite composer in the whole wide world. He's so epic. And I'm just a mad scientist and a genius at work. And I'm like, yes, create, come to life.
Nice. Okay. I like it. Okay. So I feel like another popular question for people is, what's your favorite character? But I'm not going to ask you that. Who is your struggle bus child? Who is the hardest character to write for you?
The hardest character to write for me? I would say, well, that's a good question. No one's ever asked me that one before. The hardest character for me to write for my book?
Yeah, of course.
It would be Midas. It'd be Midas.
And why, I guess, is a good question too.
Well, he was supposed to, it was the way I had thought he was gonna be, and he turned out the complete opposite of what I had for him. He was originally supposed to be hardcore villainous, but no, he's not that at all.
I've got plenty of characters who do that to me too. It's always just please do what you're told, make my life easier, and then they never do. So what other authors or books inspire you?
Other authors and books? Well, I get inspiration from everything beyond, not just books, but I love mangas, I like animes, I love video games like Zelda.
Nice.
I do like some books, I love The 5 People You Meet on the Way to Heaven and Tuesdays with Morrie. I do like J.R. Tolkien. I love George Lucas's Star Wars. I've even read the script. Yeah, I'm a nerd.
I mean, so am I, so I feel ya. Okay, last question. It's got to be a really good one. Let's see. All right. What's a genre you don't ever see yourself writing a book for, but you would absolutely love to do it?
I'd say historical dramas, Pride and Prejudice type.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm not really into those.
That's
but
fair.
I like watching, seeing other artists and writers create those. But for me, nah. I gotta have I like a little bit of everything.
Fair enough.
I know you're not going anywhere. We're coming right back.
The foretold story follows young Midas in a future world who experiences challenges from the onset of his life, plagued by life-altering tragedies, crushing his desire to exist. The Foretold Story by Katia R.V. Reed. For more information, go to theforetoldstory.com.
So what sets your story apart from others?
what sets mine apart? I want to say everything, but of course that's not entirely true. It's, it's an epic fantasy. But something that does set it apart is that it's both geared towards young adults and new adults. So it's a very good kind of cross-age genre book. Also, as a marine biologist, I put a lot of, my knowledge about the world and how I view the world. So I get characters that are not always thinking in a way you would expect them to, because I do know some really weird things and things that general people don't, and they always end up popping in my book. Yeah, so I think that's just kind of different. You kind of get a very different frame of mind from some of my characters.
Oh, very, very cool. I read like the excerpt. It was so good. I'm like, that king, he is something else. Caius?
Caius, yeah.
Yeah, I was like, oh goodness. Like he says that one thing and this, I cracked up. But like it was when Braxton was telling Keegan to not panic when she was in the little dungeon.
Yeah.
And he comes out like from the shadows or something, and he's just like, what if I told you about showing kindness, Braxton? I was just like, oh my goodness, this guy, he's a good character. He's a good Rowling character. All of them are. They just have like this interesting dynamics. I was like, wow. All right, I should ask the next question. So if you were a character in your book, what would be your favorite place to visit? So I saw like see the world map, and it's like, whoa, there's like this adventure and this mystifying world of magic. Right?
So that one's actually really, really easy to answer. As a marine biologist, I immediately have to go with the answer of, I want to go visit the mermaids, in their ocean palace, like 110%. Easy question. Like anything ocean related, fish related, I'm like, I'm there. That's me. Let's go.
Oh, that's awesome. And my next question would be, what inspired your characters?
Sometimes there's nothing that really inspires them. They just come from a need. Other characters inspired by people, or sometimes interactions with people that I'm just like, ooh, this has got to be a scene, so there's got to be a character, but for the most part, they're a mix of someone I know, kind of, or myself in some weird way, shape, or form.
That's amazing. I kind of got that sense with Keegan, because she was like, she came from North Carolina too. Sorry, I did my research, so I was like, whoa, this is so cool. I want to find out more.
No, you're fine. Keegan actually is really heavily based off of myself, because this whole thing started as bedtime stories to myself, and I would just put myself into the story, and then there eventually came a point where I'm like, okay, we kind of have to separate myself in the story, but like the main characters already got way too much of my personality and characteristics, and they're kind of stuck, but okay.
See, that's the best when we put ourselves into our characters, because it makes them more real.
Oh, absolutely. It's one of my favorite things, like, especially if I've got friends, that have written books. I love sitting there and being like, all right, I know that character trait. I know that quirk. Yeah, this is you. This is totally you. It's so much fun.
So true, so true. And my final question. Did I go through all of them? I had to write a whole extensive note thing here. I'm like, there's so many questions I want to ask, but I can only pick so many. All right, so my final question is, who is your favorite character in your story?
Oh, that's so hard, because I love all of them immensely, but then I also want to throttle them all half the time because they don't like to listen, so that's really hard.
You said you don't like to listen. That's interesting.
I can always like have a half-baked idea of this is totally gonna happen, and then one character just like, no, we're going the other direction, and it's just like, but please, but it just
don't go against the will.
Pretty much. And so it's just, they all have minds and personalities of their own, and they completely exist in my mind. I recognize this, but they are fully functioning people who will not do what you want. But favorite character. I think I gotta go with Caius.
Caius?
Because he's absolutely the villain, and I love villains. But he's fun to write because he is both wildly just a horrible person.
Yes.
Got wildly good reasons for doing what he does. And so like making him do really awful things while being completely logical is just something that's really fun and like shouldn't work, but it does.
He is pretty evil. I was like, oh my goodness, poor guy was asking him for water after he like this massive explosion, and he's just like, water, please. And he's like, first answer the question. And he's like, please. And then he just
Yeah.
Oh my goodness. And then like he's like trying to read her thoughts. Like he has this mystifying thought reading power. I was like, oh snap. And he's like, tell me where you come from. And she's like, no, like I come from North Carolina. He's like, that doesn't exist. Get her. It was like, he's so funny. I mean, it's not funny like that he's that evil, but I mean, it's just funny. Like I could just see it cinematically playing in my head. It was just really, he's just really a fun character.
Yeah, no, I have so much fun writing him. So yeah, totally get that.
That's awesome.
Don't go anywhere, we still have more to go. If only they had known how important they were, the children of prophecy are the only ones who can protect or kill. Now they must face the danger set before them and survive. Who are they? Check out Nannigan by H.C. Kilgour. All right, so the first question is, what publishing company did you use, and were you satisfied enough to suggest it to someone who's never published a book and looking to publish a book? Would you suggest it to them?
So I am published with Rock Hill Publishing, and I actually do recommend them to a lot of people who ask me, you know, I'm kind of interested in writing a book and publishing, simply for the fact that Rock Hill focuses almost exclusively on first-time writers. So they, you know, there's really no prerequisites for them. They just, you know, give us a book, and if we like it, that's all we need. You know, they're not like the bigger publishing companies where they're like, you know, can you prove that you've submitted to magazines and had short stories published and all that kind of stuff, or you have an agent? They're, you know, they're very willing to work with the newbies and the little guys. So they're a really great place for people to start. And they're a small publishing company, so you get this great hands-on experience. And, you know, the editor is phenomenal. The owner's awesome. You know, the other authors are all just really great people. And it's like having a little brighter family. So, you know, it's just, if you need help, you can go to anyone, and, you know, they're all willing to help you. And it's just, it's a great atmosphere for, you know, people who are trying to get the first book out, or, you know, maybe trying to get their second book out. It's just, they're great. They're a really good company, and I really enjoy working with them.
Thank you. Is it ROCKHILL?
Yes.
Publishing, okay.
Yeah.
All right, Katia, same question?
I was published by Ebook Time. It's an independent vanity press publishing.
You said Ebook Time?
Yes.
Okay. I'm not just asking for the audience, I'm asking for myself, because a lot of people ask me to help them publish their books, and I tried it like 3 or 4 times, and it just wasn't for me to publish people's books. So now I'm trying to find publishers for people, and I want to make sure they're not because I've heard a lot of horror stories about people with publishing companies that went bad, went out of business, or they stole their money, didn't do anything for them. And I don't want to be the one to suggest a publishing company to someone and that happens to them, and I look like the bad guy. So I ask so that I know you had your experience and you can, you know, tell me whether or not it's good or not. So thank you for giving me that information.
Yeah, I highly recommend it. Ebook Time.
Ebook Time.
Very good and honest.
Awesome. So you ready for your last question? And we have time, so I'll give you some time to think about it, because most people need time to think about it. So if there was an author, dead or alive, doesn't matter whether they're dead or alive, that you could travel with, who would it be, where would you go, and why?
Okay, so This one's easy for me because I'm a biologist, and fantasy writers are great and all, but my first love has always been animals. So an author I would love to travel with would be Gerald Durell. He is the author of My Family and Other Animals, but first and foremost, he is actually a conservationist and a biologist, and he and his wife actually founded the Jersey Zoo over in England. And he is more or less like your British version of Steve Irwin. So I would really love to bring him back, and I would really love to pretty much just travel the world and just like play with animals with him. Like, I think that would be just so much fun. And I would definitely come out with a few scars and some great stories.
Okay. Katia? Same question.
Oh, I would say J.K. Rowling.
Okay. And where would you travel with her?
Dead or alive, right?
Dead or alive?
Oh, good. Yeah, J.K. Rowling. I would travel with her. She's so amazingly imaginative and just adventurous. And I seek adventure and real. So I just feel like it would be really fun for us both to travel, because we could probably like come up with some really cool adventures. The two of us traveling and adventuring together would be like a recipe for something magnificently awesome.
Well, that is all we have for you today for the Writer to Writer interviews. I want to thank my guests, Haley and Katia, for joining me for this episode. I want to thank you as well, the audience, for joining us and watching us. Thank you again. Have yourself a great day. Are you a guest looking for a host to interview you? Or are you a host looking for guests to interview? Radio Guest List is the website for you. It's a free listing of guests looking for shows to interview them, as well as a free listing of shows looking for guests. Whether you're looking for a guest to interview or shows to interview you, go to radioguestlist.com.